Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with Q Macro. That's me, DJ. First live stream of 2020. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad that you've managed to join. I can see some folks on the stream already. So I've just got a message from YouTube here suggesting the audio stream's current bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. Recommend you blah blah blah. Okay, I'll read that later. I guess you can hear me okay. Welcome to Wouter. Happy New Year, Wouter, and also congratulations. I think did I see a tweet from you that you finished at Flexo and you're going independent? That's fantastic. Congratulations. Pierre Dominique, welcome back. Welcome back. I know that when I think you moved jobs or clients, and the client you were at was blocking Twitch, so you were one of the many reasons or the factors for me deciding to move towards YouTube and away from Twitch. Good morning, Freddie. Welcome, Freddie. I'm glad you made it onto YouTube as well. Are you on the bus to school? Has school started yet, or I can't remember? No, maybe not. Are you watching from home? Just down the road there, actually. Good morning, Rooney. Good morning, and Happy New Year. Leo, good morning as well, and Helmut and Nabheet. Thank you for letting me know you can hear me clearly. I'm streaming in dark mode. Yes, maybe I am. Oh, yes, streaming in dark mode because of it's just getting light here now. Dawn is arriving. I do like to run pre-dawn. Which makes it very easy to run pre-dawn in this time of the year. So yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. This is so fantastic. Good morning, Tim. Good morning. Welcome. How is it down in Chorlton? Max Privat. Is that you, Max, Mr. Max S, or is that another Max? Well, whether it is or not, welcome. It's great to have you on board. Message retracted. So I don't know what that means. So welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with Q Macro, hosted on YouTube. It's still the holidays. Nice one, Freddie. Well, next time, maybe you could come. Well, no. Oh, yeah, you're at school next week. I was going to say you could have come here and you could have been on the stream. Oh, well, next time. It is dark. It is dark over here as well. Yes. Thank you, Tim. So this is my first outing on YouTube. And as you've probably seen, let me just switch to... I'll switch there in a minute. I've been tweaking my YouTube channel, which I'll show you shortly. And it turns out that some of the features that I did look at YouTube before I started streaming about this time last year, and I didn't really understand what was going on, and it seemed a little bit complicated, which is why I just seemed to gel more with what Twitch had to offer in terms of the streaming mechanics and everything. Hey, Amit, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome and hello and Happy New Year. I feel more at one with YouTube now. And I think some of the YouTube live studio things have improved as well. Another reason I've moved to YouTube is, of course, because my friend and colleague Max is also streaming now. I think he had his first stream in December. Did he do a second one while I was on holiday? I can't remember. But I understand that he's going to be streaming again. Going to continue to do streaming into 2020, which is great. So let's have it all on YouTube. That's the whole idea. Other reasons as well. And like I mentioned, some folks can't watch Twitch because their corporate network environment blocks Twitch. So yeah, I'm quite happy with what I've come up with. Oh, you've got the right account, so that was you, Max Private was you. So I'm wearing. I've just noticed here it is dark, so I'm also wearing a what do you call it? A hoodie. One of our branded SAP developer advocates new what's the word? Apparel. I think that's an American word, isn't it? That reminds me actually so Max is going to be streaming on the 14th. That's right. I'm not around next week either. We have an internal SAP conference next week in Karlsruhe, which Max and I are attending. And I'm flying back on Friday morning, unfortunately, so I won't be able to stream Friday morning. Maybe I'll get another stream in somehow, somewhere next week. Let me know. if you fancy that. Yeah, so I'm wearing this. I might have to take it off because it's quite warm. I've got a different mug with my coffee, and I've got an SAP branded mug. So that's pretty cool. This came from SAP UK. Chris Whaley got me this when he was down there. So thank you, Chris. So talking of that, I think on the previous live stream just before Christmas, we were talking about T-shirts. I think John Murray said that, oh yeah, you know, his T-shirts are all worn out, or his SAP branded T-shirts. And I said, I've got some T-shirts. So what we'll do over the course of the next few live streams is give some T-shirts away. I'm just watching this analytics view on the YouTube studio, and the graph is going woo. It's quite distracting. I'm going to put the stream health on there instead, so it's not changing in front of my eyes. So I dug into my wardrobe, and I've got some T-shirts that I've not really worn. I've got one that I've only worn a couple of times, which you may or may not want. But I thought I'd do a giveaway. And I think the way, well, let's work out between us how we're going to do this. But the way I think it would be good is that I only want to give away to you folks on the stream, as in people who are not particularly this stream, but you know, who come on the stream and are also subscribed to my YouTube channel. So you've got to be subscribed, and then let's just work out how we're going to do this. But anyway, I've got this T-shirt here. I guess you can all tell what that is. It's an SAP UI5 T-shirt. Pretty awesome with the new, it's sort of a medium new Phoenix logo. So maybe a collector's edition now. So I've got that one, and that is I think they're all large, because I guess I got them from me originally. Yes, they're all large. I've not worn this one. And I've also got a large, what's this one? Oh, yes. I've also got a large SAP Cloud Application Programming Model T-shirt, which is pretty damn cool. So I've got that one as well to give away. So that's two. And I've also got, when I was very kindly invited with Max by another friend and colleague of ours, Vitaly Rudnitsky, Sigismundovich on Twitter, to Wroclaw. And I got a couple, actually. I thought I only had one, but I got a couple, so I've got one spare. A Wroclaw SAP Inside Track T-shirt, also large. A collector's edition, exactly, Ronnie. So I've got that one. And also I thought, unless people say, no, that's disgusting, but I've only worn it a couple of times, and, you know, we're all friends here. I've decided I'm going to give away, to start the year off right, I'm going to give away this T-shirt as well, the Futurist Terminal. Rooney and I have been scheming sort of on and off over the past few weeks, or before Christmas really. We're going to do some more T-shirts, you know, branded T-shirts with Spreadshirt. So this is the first one I did. So I'm going to give this one away as well. So we've got 4 T-shirts. And I need to figure out basically how best to do it. But I think one way of doing it is for you to put, well, the cap one was awesome. Where can we get one? Well, what I'll do is we'll auction one each week or each live stream. So we'll do one today. What we'll do is if you want one, we'll auction the this one today first. The what's it called again? The Futurist Terminal. The Futurist Terminal T-shirt. We'll auction that one today. And if you want to be in the auction, as in if you want to put your name in the hat, put a comment on this YouTube video. Okay, so the YouTube video that's live right now on my channel, I guess. Yes, it is. Put a comment there saying, yes, I'm subscribed, and please add me to the lottery for the T-shirt. This live stream's T-shirt. And then I found a quite a nice simple decider. I just went on and Googled decision wheel, and it's pretty cool. So I'll just switch. Oh, I won't switch it, but I'll show you in a minute when I switch. I also wanted to show you something that Joseph, my son, and I have been working on, and Freddie, I think you've seen this already, over the holiday period, which is a Raspberry Pi based cluster. So I thought I'd just bring that out and unplug it and show you. All the Raspberry Pis. I've got 4 Raspberry Pis here with power over Ethernet hats, So they're all powered via Ethernet. If you want to find out a little bit more about this, we could do some sort of off-piste live streams. I could even sort of take it apart and rebuild it, and we'd do it over a number of live streams there. And what I'm using at the moment is Ansible to configure. Comment. Yes, in a comment. Oh, Max, were you being funny there? I'm not sure, but yes, add a comment to the video thing when it goes like, I guess that's the thing, right? You can add a comment to the video, or add a reaction, not in the chat here, but in the thing below. I have no idea what I'm doing. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? When you comment on a video. So yeah, if you fancy doing some live streams with this together, putting it together from a hardware perspective, but also using Ansible, and then building a Kubernetes cluster, one master and 3 workers, 1 primary, 3 secondaries, whatever you call them. Let's do that as well. Okay, it's really cool. So what I've got so far, and I can show you what I've got so far in another stream. I've got Ansible running and can control these via Ansible, which is pretty awesome. I learned all this from somebody called Jeff Geerling, who is awesome. Anyway, that's that. So now I don't need the big camera picture anymore. I can switch to my regular sort of screen share thing. So yeah, this is the new YouTube, my new YouTube channel. I've got a new sort of channel graphics here. I've got a welcome video, and what I've put in the sort of the channel layout is an upcoming live stream section. So any upcoming live streams will appear here, and as you probably know, if you look at the upcoming episodes section of the regular sort of hands-on SAP dev, in fact, I'll put my channel link in first. YouTube.com DJ Adams Q Macro. But I guess if you're watching this, you already know that, right? And that, of course, is the regular blog post with all the information about the past episodes here, for example, and the upcoming episode. And now I've added another row in this upcoming table, which is a link to the actual live stream video ID. So when you schedule a live stream on YouTube, you get an ID for that video, and I don't think that changes once it's been live. And so you can click on that. That will take you straight to the upcoming live stream there, and you can set a reminder. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe as well. There's normally for you there'll be a subscribe button there. Please subscribe. Also check out these featured channels. I've added a few featured channels here. Of course, there's Max. There's the awesome Mr. Thomas Young. There's everybody's awesome, right? I'm not going to say awesome all the time. There's Jeff Fritz, also known as C# Fritz, an awesome live streamer. A friend of mine from live streaming as well, Stu Bonham, who goes by the name of Codebase Alpha, doing some awesome Z80 emulation. Fun Function. If you don't know that already, definitely have a look at that. That's MPJ. I think Helmut's on the stream today. Helmut, I'm sure you know about that, don't you? And of course, there's SAP Developers, which is still going to be the home of the recordings eventually. Once each live stream finishes. As you know, on the SAP Developers YouTube channel, I'll paste that in there. There's a number of playlists, one of which is this one here, Hands on SAP Dev with Q Macro. So you can look at that playlist. Good morning, John Murray. We were just talking about you, actually. I've just been through. I've got 4 T-shirts to give away. I'm going to give one away first of all after this live stream. Basically, if you want to be in the lottery, they're all large, by the way, but it's like a reasonable large. It's not mega. Put a comment in the comments below this video, not in this chat. I'm going to call this chat. I'm going to call it comments. I have no idea. So yeah, John, your name was mentioned this morning. So there's the playlist, and as I've just noticed here, there's 49 in the playlist, which means we've done 50. This is our 50th live stream. So congratulations. Thank you all so much for supporting this. So that's that. Yes. And if we have a quick look, just to bring us in now to what we're going to be talking about today. What time is it? Yeah, 8:15. That's very good. just have a quick look at what we're going to be doing today. We're going to continue with where we left off effectively just before Christmas, which is to continue digging into the SAP Business Rules service on SAP Cloud Platform, specifically, of course, the Cloud Foundry edition, the Cloud Foundry environment. And here's the link to the annotations blog post that I published yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, no idea what's going on with the days. And in that episode 48, what we did, I'm not going to scroll all the way through, but what we did was we had a look in the Web IDE, first of all, at building the business rules editor, the thing that you sort of get for free in Neo, but you have to sort of deploy yourself in Cloud Foundry. But it also, doing that taught us a lot of things about how multi-target applications are put together. The fact that, for example, you can have a multi-target application with no code. Of course, it just points to a managed service and an application that exists somewhere else. You know, the same sort of thing as how things are subscribed to in the old Neo environment. We used, first of all, the deprecated build tool, the Java-based build tool, to build that project, and then we deployed it to Cloud Platform, Cloud Foundry, to my dev space in my trial account. And then we did the same from the command line to understand exactly what's going on. So we used the Java runtime environment, and we used the jar file that we downloaded from tools.onDemand.com. What else did we do? I know we know this. I don't remember this because I wrote this annotation blog post yesterday. Then we installed. Well, then we installed the new build tool, the MBT, which is a Node-based, Node.js npm-based build tool, and we downloaded the project again, and from there, in fact, there we go, and expanded it, unpacked it locally on the command line, and built it again using the new build tool, the not deprecated one. And had a look at the output, and then did that same thing, or used the new build tool in Web IDE to see, yes, it's the same thing, and then deployed it again, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's where we were. That's where we left off. So I think we ended up with a pretty good understanding of how we got to the Business Rules Editor app. And so maybe we'll appreciate using it more because we've had to do a little bit of work to get it running. And also, of course, we use the CF, the Cloud Foundry command line tool to look at the services and the apps and the state that they were in, status or state. And we built a little cockpit, didn't we, with tmux and panes, which is awesome. So there we go. So that's where we left off. What I want to do with you today is start using the Business Rules Editor to create this flight discount business rules project, which you've seen before very briefly on a previous episode. And we'll just go through and just familiarize ourselves with the different things that you have in a business rules project, the different sort of artifacts and how they relate. Okay, I haven't got anything written down, so I'm going to try and build it from memory, and we'll sort of stumble our way through. So that's that. By the way, is the chat appearing in the live stream video? I think it is. I think I've configured it correctly. I'm just going to say hello and see if it appears in a minute. Can somebody else put something in the chat, the YouTube chat, and make sure it appears on the actual video above my head, just up there, to see? Seems like there's at least a bit of a delay. And if it doesn't appear, please also, I can see, I think I can see something. I got a tiny little thumbnail preview in the thing. Anyway, also, if anybody would like, I know that Emmanuel, was it Emmanuel? I can't remember who it was that requested a sort of behind the scenes. Thanks, Pierre. Behind the scenes. So if you wanted to do a behind the scenes streaming episode to see how I manage this, then also let me know. Thanks, John. Thanks, Czech. And thanks, Navit, and thanks, Freddie. Hello. Yes, thanks for the test, Freddie. So there we go. Now, let us go to, we don't need that, and we don't need that. Yeah, let's go to my cloud platform cockpit. I'm going to take this jumper off now because this hoodie off, because it's very warm. It's very good. And reveal the t-shirt I'm wearing today, which is actually a non-tech t-shirt. This is a Beer Nouveau t-shirt. Awesome brewery in Manchester. Also home of the Michela Running Club Manchester chapter. So we go. There's Beer Nouveau. Ollie, good morning, Ollie. Welcome. Everybody say hi to Ollie, an old friend of ours, awesome person. Like you all are awesome as well. Welcome, Ollie. That's brilliant. So let's go into my trial account and have a look at the applications running. And I think I set this up or reset this up earlier this week to be in the same state it was at the end of the previous live stream. And as you can see, in my Cloud Foundry space, and I've already got one space, I've got stuff in there. And I've got this application, Business Rules Editor App Router, which is a thing we built and deployed. Let's have a quick look at the service instances, and we'll see that the three services that that app depends upon are there as well. So there is the actual Business Rules service, an instance of it itself. There's an instance of the user authorization and authentication service that it's referring to. And also, there is effectively an instance of this HTML5 apps repo service, which is supplying effectively the actual app artifacts, the UI5 artifacts that go to make up the Business Rules Editor app. So there we go. So let's go and run the application. Let's go into the application itself and choose the one route that we have, which should take us, hopefully. Yes, I've had this before. We had this before, didn't we? Let's just empty cache and reload. There we go. Actually, let's just, there we go. I had it then. Press the wrong button. Let's authenticate. There we go. Fine. Come on. I'm still, you know what? I was thinking this morning, what's going on? I was thinking this morning that the whole sort of Catalina gate that happened with macOS, seeing the positive in things, you always start the year off really positive. That was a real positive experience from the end because it just made me stop using macOS for the most part. And I've been so happy with moving to Chrome OS. You just can't believe. And I've been also using Linux a lot and also different window managers. Let's not even go there. It's just awesome. But anyway, so yeah, thank you, Catalina, for making me see that the future is Chrome OS. So let's create a project. Let's create this discount rules project. The whole idea is we want a decision table, which will, take an airline ID, BA for British Airways, Lufthansa, whatever, and then just produce a number of discounts. We're not interested at this point in the details of what the business rules project will do for us. We just want to go through and construct one. And then what I want to do, if we get time, hopefully going to get time, yes, 8:23, is start poking it with a stick using the APIs, the business rules APIs that we're going to play around, hopefully, with the authoring API today and just have a look at that from underneath. And what we'll find is that it's not the same as poking it from underneath as we did with Neo, because whereas with Neo we could use basic authentication, HTTP, which is a lot simpler. And also, of course, it's not very secure. But it's good for testing things. We have to use OAuth, so we have to mess around with tokens and everything. So we'll do that as well. First of all, using the API Business Hub, and then using the command line, of course. Hey Phil, welcome. Hope everything is okay down there. Thinking of you all there. Take care of yourself. You're stuck with Windows at work. Oh my goodness me! I feel for you, Pierre. So anyway, yes, so let's create one, add, and I think what we'll see over the next few minutes, we don't want to dig into too much detail, but I just want to explain, as far as I understand, what these different things, these different artifacts are. If you want to find out more, there's some awesome blog posts by Archana, a colleague of mine, Archana Shukla. In fact, that reminds me, I saw this on the Cloud Foundry website. On the look, cloudfoundry.org, we have a reference to the SAP Cloud Platform Service Business Rules, which is awesome. Or it would be if the link that was supplied didn't give you a 404, which is a little bit unfortunate. So I'm going to send some, I only found that out this morning. I'm going to send some feedback to the folks that maintain that. I thought that was almost, a partial success, let's say. But I thought it was very interesting to see that the business rules service is referenced in Cloud Foundry. So let's call it discount, flight airline discounts. Let's add that for the description as well. I'm just going to do the bare minimum. Now, so this is the detail of the project. And you'll also see, if you're not familiar with the business rules service and the concept of our business rules project, you'll maybe not be aware that there's a big concept of things being in an active state or an inactive state. So you can change things around while they're inactive and then only make them active when you're ready. Okay, and you've got to activate all the different things. You can do that manually in the business rule editor, or you can use an API call for that. And it's only when things are all active and all fitting together that you can then deploy that business rules project to the business rules runtime. Okay, but we'll see that manually here in the business rules editor. Oh, Ronnie said something. What's that? Pierre, I just switched to Windows at work since trying to get work done on the enterprise Mac was like torture. Total locked art. Yeah, I mean, regardless of the OS, if your machine is locked down, I mean, we're in the 21st century, 20 years into the 21st century, IT departments are still locking down developers' machines. It's crazy. Anyway, so we're going to go through the process here. So we've got our basic details. We're going to save that, and now we'll just move along this sort of this tab strip here and go into data objects. Okay, and a data object is effectively or the way I've been using them is effectively a way to handle information that flows into and back out of a business rule or call to a business rule service. And what I did for the the airline discounts business rules project is create a couple of data objects in the form of structures of type structure. And they each have one field. And then the whole idea is that a given structure can be used as either an input to a call to a business rule, or as an output, or they call it here, I think, a return out of the business rules, or the answer. Okay, so let's create a data object, and we'll just there's some description that is helpful, but I think it's even more helpful when you actually start seeing it. So if we call this flight info, I think that's what we called it. Flight info. Again, flight info. I'm just going to call it the same thing for now. And as you can see, this is of type structure. What are the types of things? You can have a table. You can pass a whole table of stuff. You can pass an individual element. But I'm going to go for a structure because that's what I had before, and I don't want to change things unnecessarily. So now we've got that, but we've only defined the sort of the header part, this structure's name. So we're now going to define an attribute, as in a field. So this is a record, and we're going to define a field in that record. So we're going to call it carrier, and it's a string. Okay, I don't think we need to give it a description or a label. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's save that. So we've now got a flight info record. Invalid. Okay, we have to put a description. Carrier. There we go. Save. Object is saved. Notice they're all being saved inactively, which is fine. So this can eventually be used as the input structure for when we call the rule. Now we'll go back here to the airline. This is like a bit of a sort of, what's it call it? A breadcrumb thing. And we'll create another data object called we're going to call it discount info. Yeah, there we go. Discount info. It's also a structure, and it's got a one attribute, and the attribute is going to be discount percent, and it's going to be a number. Okay, there we go. Let's keep this as simple as possible. Windows subsystem for Linux is a game changer. You're right. I found out the other day that it's not quite the same as the, let's call it the Linux subsystem in Chrome OS via Crostini. I think the way that it's implemented on Windows is that there's an emulation layer, which is not quite the same as how it works in Crostini. But anyway, that's a story for another time. So we've now got a discount info structure. So we should have now two structures. There we go. Perfect. Why don't we activate these now? Actually, let's go into the discount info and edit it and activate it. Okay, so we can only start sort of referencing things and using them once they're active. Let's go back into the flight info. I'm sort of making this up as I go along. So, if you want me to do other bits and pieces, or if you notice I'm forgetting something, let me do that as well. So we've now got two active data objects here. So those data objects are ready to sort of plug into as pipes into and out of a rule service, but we can't create that rule service yet before we've created a rule. Okay, so let's go now and create a rule. And this is, I think, if you look at the previous episodes, you'll see this rule was like if the airline is Lufthansa, then discount is 10%. If the airline is British Airways, then the discount is 5% or whatever. So let's create a rule, a local rule. There's also, there's so many possibilities here. If we covered everything in the business rules editor, we'd be here for many live streams. So the new rule of the name is this airline discount. Okay, and it's a decision table, mode advanced, mode basic. Let's go with the mode basic for now. I can't remember which one I use, but anyway, it's a decision table as opposed to a text rule. From my experience, and maybe it might be a weird experience, but from my experience, 90% of all the rules I've seen in business rule projects have been decision tables as opposed to text rules. You'll see that the decision table itself is sort of textified in a way. Each record you can sort of read as a sentence, and the text rules themselves are even more like sentences. And the reason behind this, I'm thinking, is because the whole point of business rules is to put the decision-based data, the configuration data that's used to make decisions in business logic, put that back in the hands of users, so that the users can maintain the data that they own, right? And if we want to make that as easy for them as possible. So that's the whole idea behind, having sort of textified, and that's just a word I've just made up, textified rules here. So let's create a new rule. There we go. And this is going to be airline discount and airline discounts. Now, we also have to specify somehow what result is there. So let's just go through here and look at the decision table. Start building the table in settings. Has anybody played around with the business rules before? Let me know if you have in the comments, because I'd be interested to hear from you your experience. It's quite an impressive, in a way. It's quite business rule projects. Are quite complex things. For a simple example like this, you think, well, there's a lot of stuff to do here, but it also provides a lot of flexibility. There's a balance between complexity and flexibility. I'd be interested to find out what you think. We'll go for a first match, as in you're reading through the entries in the table, and if once you've hit a match, then that's it. That's the decision. Enter a valid expression if condition expressions. Oh goodness me! Here we go. If the carrier of the flight info is equal to then something, then we want. Okay, so let's just try that. So we want the results in the discount info structure. So here's where we're seeing the use of the two data objects that we created. Result attribute, that's fine, apply. Let's see what's going to happen there. Okay, so we've got this condition expression, carrier of the flight info. This is what I'm talking about from a text-based perspective. So at least this decision table here is embeddable. This decision table is actually a control, a UI5 control. It's a complex control, and I did a whole talk on it at UI5Con in 2018. Was it 2018? And it's quite involved, but it allows you then to embed this sort of decision table editing rather than give to the end user this whole administration editor so that they can maintain the rules. If the carrier of the flight info is equal to Lufthansa, for example, then the discount is going to be 10%. How about that? And if let's add another row, insert first. I think you can select a row here and say add after or whatever. But anyway, if it's British Airways, British Airways as a string, then the discount, sorry, what's going on here? Then the discount is 5% because they're a bit more stingy. Okay, that effectively is the simplest decision table possible. I'm sort of rushing through this partially because I do want to sort of play around with the API a little bit as well. Pierre, you've not played with it yet. Napit, you have, and you found it super complex. Yes, I think the UI is almost like, I'm not trying to make excuses here. The UI is complex because what one builds with the UI is in itself complex. So it's not just this decision table here. I remember in the mid 80s, I had a summer job in between university years programming at an insurance company, and we used this language called File Tab D. Has anybody heard of File Tab D? And that was basically a decision table based language. It was a matrix based language where the logic flowed through a series of matrices where the matrices were decisions. Almost like an if-net table versions of if then else. It was really weird. And we programmed that on VT220 terminals connected to a PDP-11 mini computer. Anyway, so we got that. Let's save that. In fact, I should have activated that there as well. Let's edit that again and activate it. So, Leo, you've used the BPM mechanism in NetWeaver, yes, and it does look similar. Yeah, I think the concepts are going to be the same or similar throughout, right? Yes, I think I remember you talking about this, Napit. Global track and trace. You used it in that project with CAP. You were supposed to react on an event which triggered a business rule for simple stuff, but you found the UX to be quite complex. Yes. So that's a really good question, John. You've not used it yet, but is there any version control for it? There is. I mean, there is not version control as you and I may expect or hope for in terms of, for example, Git-based version control. But since I started playing with business rules a couple of years ago, there's been some improvements. And as you probably saw, there's this draft status, there's active status, there are different versions and so on. But in terms of managing that and deploying it and then sharing those projects between people, I think there's still a way to go. So have a play with it. It might be worth us looking at the version control stuff that's there. But it's not what I as a developer would like to see yet. We're not there yet. Even I got confused with where should I put my if condition, this add row. Yeah, so the add row did confuse me as well. So I'm glad it's not just me. I thought I was just being stupid. But yeah, if you hit add row, it'll insert one at the top, right? But what you have to do is you have to go select a row and add it and then insert it. Anyway, yeah, it all appears fairly clear when you've been playing around with it a little bit more. So, I mean, if there are any UI improvements that you can suggest, then let me know or let the folks know on the via community Q&A on the community.sap.com. There is a business rules tag there and there's all sorts of awesome people. Really would love that feedback. So yeah, let them know. That'd be really good. So we've got a rule now called airline discounts, and it's active. It's 840. And now what we can do is create a rule set. Okay. And the rule set is almost like, it always appears to me when I'm doing simple things like an unnecessary extra layer of complexity. I just want to use this rule, but I've got to put the rule in a rule set. So I'm going to add this rule, insert first. Here's that sort of weird insert first, add row. And the rule we can insert there is this airline discount decision table based rule. And I'm going to call it discount rule set. Discount rule set. I'm going to activate that. Can I activate it without saving? Rule service is not assigned to the rule set, or more than one rule service is assigned to the what? Rule service. Yes. So this is a bit of a sort of a yin and yang thing. We got to also create a rule service and link it to the rule set. So we can't activate this yet. And this is where I think it could be a little bit simpler. But maybe that's just me. So we've got this discount rule set. We've got to create a rule service now, and this is the thing that we deploy eventually. So let's add a rule service. Discount rule service. Ooh, did I spell that right? Yeah, I did. And there we go. We've got a discount rule service. We don't need to add any evoke. Oh, we do actually. We do, of course. We need to say we're going to take the flight info as input, and we also need, why is that inserted at the top? We also need discount info as the result. Okay, so that is our rule service, which is effectively going to be connected to, let's save that. Let's validate that, see what's going to tell us. Yeah, that it's active. And now we can go back into the rule set and edit that. In fact, we want to validate it, don't we? Well, let's activate it. There we go. Okay, so we've activated that. Everything's connected together, hopefully. And the only thing that's not active now, I think, the data objects, they're all active. The rule service is not active yet. And once it's active, we can deploy it. The rule set, the rule set is inactive as well. So let's just activate that. Okay, and now we've also, and now we want to activate or just check, the rule itself is active. So it now just remains for us to activate that rule service. Where is it? Rule service is inactive. What's going on? Let's validate it. Validation is successful. Did I not activate that? Inactive. Edit. Activate. Oh, I probably activated it in the wrong place. The rule service is activated successfully. So now, there we go. So now everything's active, and we can now deploy it. Okay, we can deploy this rule service to the business rules runtime, but we won't do that yet. Yes, you have to edit the rule set. Exactly. I think we've done everything now, Pierre. You activate. Yeah, exactly. I was activating the project. You're right. I was on here. I was on this page. What Pierre is saying, and is completely right. I was on here. I was getting too excited. And I was hitting activate here, and I was trying to activate the project rather than the actual rule service. So of course I went into the rule service and activated that. So that's good. Now, what I think I'm not going to do, given the time, is we can deploy this anyway, but let's just not deploy it yet, and instead start to look to see if we can see this airline discounts project from underneath via the API. Okay, because of course we want to understand what's going on. I mean, this is sort of the UI, and it's complex, but we've gone through it once, and we know at least the sort of thing that we're dealing with here. And once we get to call it later on in a future hands-on SAP Dev episode, we know what we're doing, and we've all got the shared experience. So now, what I think I would like to do is, in fact, I don't want to do that yet. I want to go into the API Business Hub. Yes, you know what, Pierre? It's really interesting. So Pierre saying that Fiori UX UI can be confusing. Yes, I mean you can define, you can build anything simply or anything in a complex way, even if you've got a beautiful set of tools in the form of the Fiori components in UI5. You can still make it complex. And I think here we've got some improvements possibly to make. But there is like I said before, there is a balance between what is it we're trying to build, how complex is that, and how much of that complexity can you mask with the UI. I wouldn't like to attempt that myself. Yeah, interesting question. The Red Dot Design Award was that John for Fiori itself as a concept? With the most beautiful of hand tools, you can create some awful stuff, right? Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I'm going to log on to the API Business Hub, and what I want to do is explore the APIs very briefly. We've seen the APIs for Business Rule Service on Cloud Foundry and on Neo before, but let's just remind ourselves. What I did was actually a subscribed. What's going on here? I put them in a favorite. There we go. My favorites. Here we go. So the SAP Cloud Platform Business Rules API set. I remember now that this little logo here refers to a collection of APIs. So I'm going to click on that here. 6 APIs. Yes, that was for Fiori. By the way, talking of feedback, I've just fed back with this feedback button here. That I didn't realize these were toggle buttons. I thought, oh yeah, I'll press subscribe, and it says you've been unsubscribed. So I fed that back to the team there as well. So we have 6 APIs. We've got rule authoring for Cloud Foundry, rule authoring for Neo, rule execution for Cloud Foundry, and rule execution for Neo. And as we remember from a previous hands-on SAP Dev live stream, we got version 1 of the rule execution API, and we got version 2 of the rule execution API, both for Neo and for Cloud Foundry. Okay, so that's why there's 6, not 4. Because don't forget, with business rules, as with other things as well, but with business rules, in this case, we have a repository API, a design time API, basically, an authoring API, all same meaning really. And we have an execution API or a runtime API, okay? And the APIs are different, and obviously it makes a lot of sense. So what we're going to do is play around a little bit with the authoring API to see if we can, from underneath, from the API, have a look at that project that we've just created. Because of course you might want to have different authoring tools. You might want to build, well, you probably don't, but you might want to build your own version control system or attach some existing version control system to this API to push and pull data from the design time mechanism of business rules. Sort of thinking of John's question there. I don't know, but anyway, let's have a look at the rule authoring API for Cloud Foundry, because that's what we want to play with. And coffee, I've had enough coffee, now some water, and we have a number of different things here. And as you can see, the different, why is that sort of spinning still? Let's just refresh that. The different topics or the different areas within this rule authoring API, I'm still no idea why it's spinning. Down here, so you can export or import a project. You can look at projects. You can then dig down to the individual artifacts that we've just played with, right? So the data objects, the rules, the rule services, the rule sets. You can also use this activation API endpoint to activate a project, right? With all the different entities. Well, they call them entities here rather than artifacts, but anyway. But what we want to play around with very simply is the projects. What is this spinner doing? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Let's ignore that spinner. And we've got all sorts of different things here. This is the standard sort of Swagger style API layout, which is sort of quite nice. What I want to get to eventually is the calling these APIs from the command line. But first, we're going to call this API from the very comfortable business of itself. Let's have a look at the simplest one, which is get projects. Of course, these APIs are versioned. So theoretically, if we just say, give me the projects, we should get at least something relating to the project that we just created. In order to call this API, of course, we've got to have an API environment set up or configured. And as you can see, I've got configure environments. Where are we? Oh, that's what's, there we go. What? You cannot create an environment, right? Because you already configured all available starting URLs. Ah, okay, right, fine, yes. This spinner is really annoying me. I'm going to cancel, refresh that one more time. Or even in a new tab. Could it be that? No. Oh, yes, it's gone. Perfect. Right. That was really distracting, wasn't it? So where were we? In the projects, we want to get /v1/projects. Now, in order to do this, we've got to configure an environment. There's no sandbox. There's no sort of, play endpoint that we can play with. And we want to get our own project anyway, right? So I've already configured an environment and I've called it EU10, but let's look at that configuration to see where this stuff has come from. Okay, so we've got all this stuff here. I'm going to go through this in a minute. So we have this starting URL, okay, which will consist of the repository URL, the design time URL, appended with a path which is basically rule service/rest. Okay, this is the name I gave it, and of course, this is because it reminds me this is in Frankfurt EU10. The repository URL we can get from the documentation. So let's ignore that for now. BPM rules rule repository.cfapps.eu10.hana. So the cfapps and EU10 part remind us that this is Cloud Foundry specific. And effectively, the resulting URL is a combination of the repository URL and this sort of pattern here. That's quite boring, and we can sort of figure that out quite easily. What we have to sort of stare at a little bit, though, is this authentication type. Now, in the APIs for Neo-based endpoints, I think it's fair to say that you had a possibility of configuring those environments with using basic authentication. Okay, put in a user, put in a password, and HTTP basic authentication would be used. Oh, sorry, I'm missing out the chat here. This is very exciting. Yes, activating a project should probably activate linked objects. Yes, you're right, Pierre. But as we saw, actually, when I activated the project, it didn't activate the rule service. So maybe in the UI it doesn't, but maybe with this activation API call, it does. And that's what the description sort of implied, didn't it? Hey, Mahesh, Happy New Year. Welcome, Mahesh. It's nice to see you. We just joined. Yes, there we go. Yes, I was assuming that should be obvious what activate does, I guess. Yes, exactly. So now where, well, what the heck are these different things here and where do they come from? Let's just, before we have a look in detail, let's just make sure that this actually is working. Let's cancel any editing here. I want to cancel that because I don't want to change anything by mistake. So now we've got an API environment sort of set, we can try this out. And all we need is to hit execute because we want to do a generic call to the /v1/project. So I'm going to hit execute there. And the request URL was BPM rule repository, blah, 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 rule service/rest/v1/project. So that's a combination of the specific API, which we saw for the project, a get on /v1/projects, which is effectively appended to the request URL, which we've configured in our environment, which is BPM rule repository.cfapps.eu10.handleonDemand.com/rule service/rest. Okay, so that's what we saw in the environment. And as we can see here in the result, we've got this array. Is that big enough? Can you see that? Let me just make that huge. Let's put that in there as well. There we go. As we can see, as a response, we get JSON, and we get an array of individual projects. So there's the project ID. In fact, we've got the business rules here. We can see, is that URL big enough? It starts 94AD349. 94AD349. So that's the ID. There's also a version, which has an ID of 0 right now, because the version is after that. So there's the 94AD349, comma, and all version 0. Okay, so that's in the actual editor, which is quite nice. We've got the airline discount, sort of language unspecific, the language specific airline discount, who created it, and so on. Okay, so that'll do for now. Okay, so we've managed to see some information in the design time, in the repository endpoint for business rules on Cloud Foundry. We can see what we've just created, and we changed on. That's today at 8:42. Yeah, that's more or less right. So that's cool. But let's just have a quick look at where this information in our in our environment came from. So we looked at that. So we've got our OAuth 2.0 authentication details, client ID, secret, and the token URL as well. Okay. Now, that's all I needed to supply. Now, does anybody know where this came from? We did have a look at this. I think it might have been even a couple of episodes ago. Where it was in the service key stanza of data that we created for our business rules service instance on Cloud Foundry. Okay, so remember this SB clone. I'm going to delete the service instance straight after this live stream goes offline, so it doesn't matter if I show you the secrets and so on. So let me go here and go back to, well, in fact, let's have a look at the, let's go back here to dev and have a look at the services. Could have gone to the service bindings, but anyway, there's the service instances. And if we have a look at the instance called business rules of the service, also called business rules, because you know my naming convention, call everything the same. If we have a look at the service, well, there anyway, right? If we have a look at the service keys that we created for this instance of the business rule service on Cloud Foundry, we have a ton of stuff. And as you can see here, for our authentication, we have this client ID. Okay. The client ID is here, SB clone A4D2. There. We also have the client secret. And again, I can show you this now because I'm going to delete this shortly. And it still won't work because, of course, you don't have my user ID and password, which you still need to access this once we've created things. So the client secret is basically the thing that goes in here. And then finally, the token URL, as in the HTTPS endpoint that you poke with a stick to ask for an access token with which you can make further calls to the repository APIs. That endpoint is this token URL here. So the token URL is this one. So all three things that you need for the OAuth 2.0 configuration for an environment, you get from your service key of your instance of the business rules service. Okay. Bear in mind, and I tripped up myself over this, while the URL is correctly with a scheme here, HTTPS : what you do is you put just the host name, the fully qualified host name, I347491, that's me, trial, so yours will be going to be different, .authentication.eu.hannah.com. Then that will be combined into a token URL /OAuth token in the same way that this pattern up here worked as well. So the starting URL is that, and the resulting URL was that. We've got a starting URL of HTTPS : something, token URL, /OAuth /token. Okay, now we've got 1 more minute left. So let's not dive in. Oh, actually, maybe we will. Maybe we'll just show one more thing, because let's do that. Let's show one more thing to prove that, or to show what we're going to do next time. Okay, what we're going to do next time is make that call. But in order to make that call, and what we'll see is what we'll understand is that what's happening in the background with the API hub is that it's using that environment information, using that configured information for OAuth to go and request an access token. And then it uses that access token to actually make the call to V1 projects. So I've got curl here. In order to request an access token, let's just try that really, really quickly. Okay, I've got here, in fact, head -2. I know that the third line shows the password. So basically, I'm using netrc, which is a way of using curl and other mechanisms that sort of comply with the netrc approach. So I don't have to supply a username and a password for a given machine. I think we've covered this before in a previous live stream. The third line in this file is the password for that, which is the client ID, right? So it doesn't really matter. In fact, if I say cat, there it is, there, password. That's the password we've already seen. That's all that's in that file right now. So I can say curl -n, and that will use netrc, and it'll look in that file when I use curl on a URL that has this as the machine name. This is the host name. And what we have to do, and this is also documented in a really nice, well, it's a comment by Archana. What you need to do to request an access token is in a comment to this post here. Let me just post this thing here. There we go. And it's a very long post. Here we go. Right. Get the access token first. So we need to hit that endpoint, which is this I347491 trial.authentication blah 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 /auth token. We use basic authentication to authenticate with that endpoint using the client ID and the client secret. And then in the body, we send a URL encoded form of 4 different parameters. The grant type, what we're asking for, what we're asking for in the response is a token. We want a password grant type, and then we supply our Cloud Foundry username and password, right? So I've got here post. So we're going to use the post method, and we're going to say h content type application x, what is it called, x do form ul encoded, and then we can supply. I've got my password. I don't want to show you my password. I've got my password in a variable, all prepared for this. What we want to do is pass some data, which is going to be grant type equals password and response type equals token and username equals dj.adams@sap.com and password equals $password, which is an environmental variable that contains my password. And then we're going to hit that endpoint. So where's that endpoint? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Anyway, we'll get it from there, right? That's the endpoint we want. I think that's all we need. Sending post, that header, we're sending that data in there. Let's see. Oh, we want verbose as well. That's right. So we can see what's going on. No, what I found, sorry, what I forgot was, of course, we need to add the OAuth token path for that. There we go. We get a lot of stuff. So why don't we do that and stick it in a file, token.json, because we know it's JSON. And there we go. In fact, why don't we look at it with JQ, because it's a lot more beautiful. And there we go. There's our access token. So we'll do more of that next time and start playing around with access tokens and using those access tokens to call the actual API endpoints in the authoring API, in the design time API, and then move on to deploying the business rule and calling the runtime API in the same sort of way. So that was our first hands-on SAP Dev live stream episode in 2020, in this decade. Our first one on YouTube. Thank you all so much for joining. It's just over an hour. I hope that was okay. Let me know how that went. Don't forget, comment below the video if you want to be in the lottery for one of the t-shirts, the first t-shirt, the Futurist Terminal t-shirt. We'll do that draw in the next live stream. And until then, have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and see you next time. I don't even know where to turn off this stream. Oh yeah, here we go, end stream. Bye.